I never imagined I'd stage my own abduction just to stop my parents' endless arguments. But when you're a 12-year-old living in a constant battleground, you'll try anything to find some quiet. I'm Ethan Carter, and I live in suburban Seattle, where the constant drizzle matches the never-ending drama between my parents. Think about this. I'm caught between two people who adore me, but can't bear to be in the same room. Mom, Laura Carter, is a brilliant interior designer whose sharp tongue matches her precise architectural lines. Dad, Jake Carter, is a programming whiz who can develop complex algorithms but fails miserably at having a civil conversation with Mom without it escalating into a screaming contest. They separated 3 years ago, and since then, I've been shuttling between their homes like a human tennis ball, trapped in their constant competition of parental superiority. Hey, before we get deeper into this crazy tale, let me take a quick break. Where are you following this story from? Maybe make a mental note of your location, or, if you're feeling social, share it later when you pass this along to someone else. And if you're getting invested in what happens next, remember to click that subscribe button to keep supporting us. You'll definitely want to stick around for what's coming. All right, let's continue. As my 12th birthday approached, I could sense the impending chaos. Mom called one evening, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. Ethan, I'm planning your party at home. I'll make that special chocolate cake with a fudge frosting you can't resist. I could almost smell the sweetness, and briefly, joy flickered through me. Then Dad's message popped up moments later. Hey sport, forget about cake. We're heading to Six Flags. Just us two, riding coasters all day long. My heart sank, and not from excitement. It wasn't about choosing between dessert or rides. It was about them transforming my special day into another conflict zone. The following afternoon, I was lying on my bed, trying to lose myself in YouTube videos to escape their echoing arguments, when it happened. The kitchen phone rang, and Mom answered. I silently crept to the staircase, listening intently. Her voice transformed from honey to ice instantly. Jake, you can't hijack his birthday like this. I've spent weeks organizing everything. Then Dad's voice came through, controlled but cutting. Laura, you don't have exclusive rights to him. He's my son too, and I won't be sidelined. I clutched the banister until my fingers ached. They were so absorbed in their argument, they didn't notice me eavesdropping, didn't realize how each bitter word they exchanged felt like a stab to my heart. That's when things took a bizarre turn. Sleep eluded me that night, with raindrops drumming against my window pane like nature's Morse code. I lay there, staring at the shadowy ceiling, my thoughts spiraling. What if this endless conflict never ceased? What if I remained forever trapped in their emotional tug-of-war? Suddenly, a movement outside caught my eye. I jerked upright, my heart thundering in my chest. Was there someone out there? Peering through the rain-streaked glass, I saw only the empty backyard, rain-soaked grass, and trees swaying in the wind. Perhaps it was just a wandering cat, or my imagination playing tricks. But that mysterious flicker planted a seed in my mind, a dark, unsettling thought I couldn't dismiss. What if I vanished? Not permanently, just long enough to shake them up. Long enough to make them understand what their constant fighting was doing to me. I sank back into my pillow, my pulse still racing. Little did I know that this moment, this mysterious shadow, would be the catalyst. The days ahead would unfold into something completely unexpected, something that would push both me and my parents to our limits. All I wanted was a simple birthday celebration. Whether it involved cake or roller coasters, it didn't matter. Instead, I was about to trigger a series of events that would completely transform our dysfunctional family dynamic. And believe me, you want to hear how this whole thing played out. There I stood, 12 years old, in the center of Mom's Seattle living room, surrounded by festive balloons and the enticing aroma of chocolate cake, trying to maintain a facade of normalcy. My birthday party was meant to be my special moment, but it felt more like a custody hearing with me as the disputed asset. Mom had really outdone herself. The three-tiered fudge cake dominated the dining table, topped with tiny Lego figures standing guard over my birthday wish. She'd spent hours perfecting it, her apron still bearing traces of cocoa when she embraced me. Ethan, this is all for you, she whispered, her smile genuine but her eyes anxiously checking the time. I recognized that look. She was anticipating Dad's arrival and the inevitable drama it would bring. He arrived right on cue. The doorbell chimed ahead of schedule, and there stood Dad, radiating confidence and charm. maneuvering an enormous package that barely squeezed through the doorway. "Happy birthday, sport." His voice resonated through the room as he deposited the box with enough force to make the floorboards vibrate. My heart pounding with anticipation, I dashed over, already guessing what lay within. As expected, when I tore through the wrapping paper, there was a magnificent black drone, complete with camera and controller, exactly like the one I'd been obsessively watching reviews of for the past few months. Tyler and Sam, my school friends who'd arrived with their parents, huddled around me, clearly impressed. For one brief, glorious moment, everything felt perfect. Then Mom's voice sliced through the excitement like a cold wind. "Jake, you're early again." Couldn't resist stealing the spotlight, could you? She stood beside her masterpiece cake, arms firmly crossed, her words dripping with frost. Dad merely shrugged, helping himself to a pretzel from the snack bowl. "Come on, Laura. I just wanted to witness our son's reaction." "What's wrong with that?" "What's wrong," she fired back, "is that I've been working since daybreak to make everything perfect, and you just barge in like you own the place." I try to make myself invisible on the couch, still clutching the drone box, wishing I could pilot it far away from this scene. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Mom strode to retrieve a hidden gift bag from behind the television, revealing her own surprise. The Star Wars Millennium Falcon Lego set, featuring 1,500 pieces of incredible detail. I couldn't help but gasp, remembering how desperately I'd wanted it last Christmas. "Tracked this down at that specialty store downtown after searching 2 other places," she announced, fixing Dad with an icy stare. Required actual effort, unlike having some assistant click by now online. Dad's expression hardened. Classic Laura. Work smarter, not harder. Besides, Ethan loves the drone. Don't you, champ? They both turned to me, their eyes intense, waiting for me to play referee in their endless match. I muttered something non-committal about loving both gifts, but neither parent registered my response. Tyler leaned in close, whispering, "Man, your parents are something else." I managed a weak laugh, though anger churned inside me. The living room crackled with their escalating argument. Mom claiming Dad was trying to buy my affection, while Dad retorted that she was stifling me with endless regulations. When Sam's mother attempted to diffuse the tension by suggesting we cut the cake, they dismissed her, too engrossed in their personal battle. That's when something caught my eye. Through the window, beyond the birthday balloons swaying on the porch, a mysterious figure stood motionless beneath the street lamp. Just a dark outline, hooded and still, hands buried in pockets, fixated on our house. Goosebumps rose on my arms. Could it be the same shadowy presence from yesterday evening? Or was my mind playing tricks? Before I could process this unsettling sight, Dad seized the drone package. "Time to test this beauty in the backyard," he announced, pretending everything was fine. Mom stepped into his path. "After the cake, Jake. We always do cake first." "Always," he sneered. "You mean your obsessive rulebook?" I jumped up, trembling with frustration. "Could we please just enjoy the food and presents without arguing?" They paused briefly. Then Mom's expression softened as she smoothed my hair. "Of course, honey. Cake time." Dad agreed, though his smug smile suggested victory. We sang the birthday song, my voice barely audible beneath their artificial enthusiasm. As I extinguished the candles, silently wishing for peace, tension hung thick in the air like an approaching storm. While Mom cut generous slices, I peered outside again. The figure had vanished, but an eerie sensation crept along my spine. I couldn't dismiss the feeling of being watched, as if someone or something waited for the perfect moment to intervene. Tyler passed me a plate, unaware of the brewing chaos. "Sweet cake, dude. You're so lucky." I nodded mechanically, but luck felt distant, replaced by mounting anxiety and a dangerous impulse. If they refused to stop fighting, perhaps I needed to take drastic action. The celebration crawled forward, presents accumulating while pizza boxes cluttered the kitchen counter. Dad lingered nearby as Mom shot venomous glares his way with each piece of cake she distributed. My friends departed early, sensing the uncomfortable atmosphere, and I understood completely. When the last balloon burst from rough handling, I'd reached my limit. I clutched the drone and Lego set tightly, not from excitement, but as evidence of my parents' competitive spite. Later that night, the mysterious figure haunted my thoughts. What if it wasn't coincidence? What if it signaled something more? Little did I know, That party and that shadowy presence were just the beginning, and I was about to ignite the fuse. The morning after my birthday celebration left me feeling drained, despite avoiding any alcoholic beverages. I awoke to the sounds of Mom moving about in the kitchen, her voice artificially cheerful as she discussed our upcoming plans. "Ethan, get your shoes ready. We're heading to the bowling alley downtown. Just you and me, no distractions." I acknowledged her with a nod, still holding onto the Lego set from the previous night, but anxiety gripped my chest. The party had concluded with strained smiles and a silent journey home, Dad departing to his residence with a half-hearted wave. That mysterious figure I'd spotted outside continued to trouble my thoughts, like an persistent itch, but I suppressed the concern. Perhaps bowling would help clear my mind. We arrived at Pins and Pints around midday, a sprawling establishment with bright neon signs, bustling with families and the constant rumble of bowling balls. Mom secured us a lane near the concession stand, insisting it was her treat since Dad had dominated yesterday's attention. She celebrated enthusiastically after scoring a spare on her first attempt, and I managed a genuine smile. For a moment, everything seemed better. The crashing pins, sharing greasy fries, her laughter, my gutter ball. It almost felt like old times. As I positioned myself for my next throw, studying the lane, the entrance doors swung open behind us. Heavy, recognizable footsteps pierced through the ambient noise. My heart sank. I knew who had arrived without looking. "Hey, sport," Dad called out, approaching with that same exaggerated smile from the party. "Left work early to join you guys." Mom's expression transformed instantly from joy to fury. "Jake, what are you doing here?" she demanded, positioning herself protectively between us. "This is my scheduled time with Ethan. You get him tonight." Dad raised his hands defensively. "Come on, Laura, relax. I'm not here to take him away. Just want to share in the fun. Is that wrong?" Her eyes constricted with anger. "You always do this. Showing up uninvited, playing the perfect father. I'm tired of it." I stood frozen, the bowling ball growing slippery in my grip, watching their confrontation unfold. Nearby bowlers began to notice, whispering among themselves, while a young bowler in the adjacent lane paused mid-throw to observe. Mom's voice grew increasingly shrill. "You think you can barge in whenever you please? I planned this, Jake. Planned it." Dad leaned casually against the scoring console, smirking. "Maybe if you weren't such a control freak, you'd realize I'm trying to be present for him. Not everything's about winning." "Oh, really?" she fired back. Like that drone stunt wasn't about showing off? That was the breaking point. Something shattered within me, more deafening than any strike I'd ever thrown. I released the bowling ball, letting it crash onto the polished lane with a resounding thud, and whirled to face them. "Would you please stop fighting?" I screamed, my voice splintering like fragile glass. Everyone's staring, and I just can't handle this anymore. They stood motionless, their arguments dying on their lips, but I didn't stick around for their justifications. I darted away, pushing through a cluster of teenagers gathered around the arcade games, my shoes squealing against the floor. I desperately needed escape, solitude, anything to drown out their endless bickering. The Seattle mist greeted me outside, its cold droplets stinging my face. I sought shelter beneath the parking lot's awning, my breathing ragged, and retrieved a wrinkled $5 bill from my jeans. The illuminated vending machine stood several feet away, promising relief in the form of a cold drink. I started moving toward it, but stopped abruptly. There he was again, that mysterious figure in the hood from yesterday, resting against a weathered sedan across the lot. Though his face remained hidden in shadow, I could feel his gaze fixed directly on me. My heart rate accelerated, pounding in my throat. Was this some sort of stalker? Or was he deliberately tracking my movements? I retreated a step, glancing back at the bowling alley entrance. My parents were probably still inside, too engrossed in their argument to notice my absence. The figure stirred, reaching into his pocket, triggering my fight-or-flight response. But he merely extracted a cigarette, ignited it with practiced ease, and turned away, smoke dissipating in the drizzle. I released a shaky breath, yet the unsettling feeling persisted. That's when inspiration struck, both reckless and thrilling, like lightning igniting a powder keg. What if I vanished? Not permanently, just long enough to teach them a lesson, to make them experience the daily torment I endured in their crossfire. The plan wasn't fully formed, just an electric current of possibilities coursing through my mind, and that figure's outline etched in my memory. I approached the vending machine, maintaining a facade of normalcy, and inserted my money. The soda dropped down, cold against my palm, though I barely registered the sensation. My thoughts raced wildly. I could disappear, find somewhere to hide, let them worry. Perhaps then they'd understand. Maybe then they'd stop. I cracked open the can, took a swig, and looked back. The figure had vanished, leaving only the sedan with rain-streaked windows. Though I didn't know his identity, he provided the catalyst I needed. I was finished being their chess piece. Time to upend the game entirely. I couldn't witness the aftermath inside the bowling alley after my dramatic exit, but I could picture it vividly. Mom undoubtedly stood there, striking her signature pose with hands planted firmly on her hips, shooting daggers at Dad while he dismissed the situation with his characteristic shrug. That's how these scenarios typically unfolded. But this time was different. I wouldn't return play peacemaker. Instead, I slipped stealthily around Pins and Pint's exterior, my soda, still collecting condensation, and conceal myself behind a dumpster as the rain saturated my hoodie. My pulse raced as I cautiously peered out, half anticipating another glimpse of that mysterious hooded figure. Though he remained absent, the vacant parking lot seemed eerily animate, as if holding its collective breath, awaiting my next move. Inside, realization must have finally dawned. Perhaps 5 minutes elapsed, possibly 10, before Mom's voice pierced the silence through the open doorway. Ethan? Ethan, where are you? I detected the unmistakable anxiety in her tone, sharp and frantic, the anger completely evaporated. Dad's heavy footsteps followed, his voice deeper but equally strained. Kid's probably just cooling off, Laura. Let's check the arcade. I pressed myself lower, enduring the dumpster's nauseating stench, waiting until their voices diminished. That's when I executed my escape. I sprinted across the lot, passing the weathered sedan, and ducked into the alley behind the adjacent strip mall. Though my plan remained nebulous, driven primarily by a desire to make them worry, each step felt increasingly significant, like crossing an irreversible threshold. Back at the bowling alley, chaos was unfolding. I later learned the sequence of events. My parents separated to search, Mom investigating the snack bar while Dad jogged through the parking lot, his calls echoing in the drizzle. No trace of me anywhere. Mom's phone suddenly vibrated, displaying an unknown number. She answered with trembling hands, and a gravelly voice delivered its message. We got Ethan. 500 grand in Bitcoin by midnight, or you don't see him again. No cops. She gasped, the phone slipping from her grasp onto the wet pavement. Dad rushed over, snatching it up. What's wrong? He demanded, and upon hearing her explanation, his smug expression vanished, replaced by ashen fear. I wasn't present to witness it, but I can envision Mom gripping Dad's forearm, her manicured nails leaving crescent marks in his skin. We need to find him, Jake. Right now. He gave a terse nod, his jaw clenched, and remarkably, no argument ensued. Dad retrieved his phone, his fingers dancing across the display. I still have this app for my work, he explained. It could track block calls. Used it during a security contract last year. If this person's careless enough to use their actual number, we'll track them down. Mom stared intently, then nodded, brushing raindrops from her face. Do it. Now. I never heard them like this before, so focused, almost synchronized. My stomach churned with guilt, knowing I was the cause, even though they weren't yet aware of the complete story. Meanwhile, I was 3 blocks away, concealed in the depths of a derelict gas station, its windows sealed with plywood and the air heavy with dampness. I'd slipped through a broken door, my sneakers crackling against shattered glass. Darkness enveloped the space, shadows stretching across the walls like grasping fingers, and I trembled, not solely from the cold. That mysterious hooded figure kept invading my thoughts. What if it wasn't random? What if they'd spotted my escape and followed? I tried dismissing these paranoid thoughts, but then I heard it. A subtle scraping sound, barely audible but unmistakable from the building's entrance. I stood motionless, breath suspended, and inched toward a fractured window. Nothing visible. Perhaps just the wind disturbing an old sign. Or perhaps not. Back with my parents, the app signaled. Found it, Dad announced, showing Mom the screen. A marker appeared on a map, indicating a house near Rainier Avenue, 10 minutes distant. Mom's brow furrowed. How certain are we? Dad tapped the device. The call originated there. It's our only lead. She paused, then grabbed her handbag. No police involvement. Not yet. If they harm him. Her voice cracked, and Dad placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. They won't. We'll bring him home. I can picture them now, rushing into Mom's SUV, the engine growling as they navigated the rain-slicked streets, their usual animosity temporarily forgotten in shared fear. They were unaware that I was safe, or relatively safe, orchestrating everything from my damp sanctuary. Using a number-masking burner app on my phone, I'd messaged my friend Caleb. He'd enlisted his brother Ryan's help, who'd agreed to play the antagonist for $20 and a pizza. It was foolish and risky, but desperation drove me. I instructed Ryan to contact Mom, employ an unsettling voice, and maintain ambiguity. He chuckled, saying, "Man, this is crazy, but I'm in." Yet, I hadn't anticipated how authentic it would feel, crouched in the darkness, questioning if I crossed a line. Mom and Dad arrived at the location, a weathered split-level house with deteriorating paint and an unstable porch light. They remained in their parked car, engine silent, observing the building. Dad murmured, "We need a strategy." Mom nodded, then revealed a cunning smile. "I have one." From her bag, she extracted a container of sleeping pills, her insomnia medication. "We'll prepare something, mix these in, and render him unconscious." Dad's surprise transformed into approval. "You're terrifying, Laura." "That's perfect." Though they lacked kitchen access, Mom recalled the chocolate cake remnants in the trunk for my celebration. She methodically crushed several pills into a slice, her hands remarkably steady despite the circumstances. I remained oblivious to their plans, still concealed in the gas station, startling at every noise. A vehicle passed by, moving deliberately, its beams cutting through the darkness. I crouched lower, heart pounding, and cautiously looked out. Though it was just a delivery vehicle, not the sedan, my anxiety persisted. The space seemed to constrict, the atmosphere growing heavier, as if everything was converging around me. I held my phone with its dim screen, awaiting Ryan's next communication. What truly surprised me was how swiftly my parents transformed into a unified force, how my misguided scheme had fostered an unprecedented connection between them. They were en route to find me, and I was unaware of the forces I'd set in motion. I remained huddled in the desolate gas station, moisture seeping through my clothes, while my phone vibrated. The message was from Caleb, updating me on our scheme. "Hey, your parents just showed up at Ryan's place." They looked seriously worried. My insides twisted uncomfortably. While I'd intended to cause concern, the reality of them searching for me hit differently than I'd imagined. I glanced through the fractured window pane again, half expecting that familiar sedan from the bowling alley to materialize. The landscape remained motionless, punctuated only by raindrops striking rusty metal surfaces, but the silence felt ominous, like an impending ambush. I wrapped my arms around my legs, questioning my endurance in this situation. Meanwhile, at Ryan's house, my parents were closing in. I learned the details later from their accounting. They'd stationed their SUV a street away, its cooling engine making soft clicking sounds, and stealthily approached the house, carrying the drug cake slice wrapped in a paper napkin. Mom took point, her expensive boots making no sound on the wet lawn, while Dad followed, phone poised to capture whatever unfolded. The buzzing porch light cast shadows as Mom's sharp knocks echoed against the weather door. Silence. She knocked again, more forcefully, and shuffling sounds emerged from within, slow and labored, like reluctant footsteps. The door opened with a creak, revealing Ryan's towering frame, his eyes glazed and unfocused. The sleeping pills from the cake he'd consumed, believing it was a mistaken delivery, were clearly taking effect. "What's going on?" he slurred, swaying precariously in the doorframe. Mom acted swiftly, pushing past him with Dad, close behind as they burst into the living area, their expressions frantic. "Ethan!" Mom's voice reverberated through the cluttered space. "Where is he?" Ryan lifted his hand sluggishly. "Hey, calm down." "I don't." His words trailed off as he collapsed onto the sofa, unconscious. Then they heard it, a deliberate thump from above. Mom's gaze darted upward, and Dad was already ascending, taking multiple steps at once. Had I been present, my heart would have stopped, knowing they were walking into uncertainty. The upstairs corridor was dimly lit, a single light sputtering eerily, casting an elongated shadow across the floor. Dad halted at the banister's end, Mom clutching his sleeve, whispering, "Jake, what if?" He shrugged her off, advancing forward. "Come out now," he commanded, his tone menacing. The shadow shifted, and Caleb emerged, my closest friend, his diminutive 5'2" frame, clutching a skateboard he'd just dropped. He raised his hands defensively, voice quivering. "Don't shoot. It's just me." Mom's expression transformed from tension to bewilderment. "Caleb, what brings you here?" Dad's hand found Caleb's shoulder, firm but not aggressive. "Where's Ethan? Is he safe?" Caleb stumbled over his words, his gaze darting toward the staircase. "He's okay. You should probably talk to him." Before they could interrogate him further, I stepped out from the adjacent room, having sneaked in through the rear entrance minutes earlier. My footwear squeaked against the hardwood flooring, causing them to spin around, their faces displaying a mixture of overwhelming relief and unmistakable anger. "Ethan!" Mom enveloped me in a suffocating embrace, then held me at arm's length, her hands trembling. "What's happening? Are you all right?" Dad towered behind her, arms crossed, though his glistening eyes betrayed his emotion, something I'd never witnessed before. "Son, we were terrified. Explain yourself." Now, I felt my throat tighten as reality crashed down. "I wasn't kidnapped," I admitted quietly. "Ryan helped me stage it. I just couldn't handle the constant fighting anymore." Silence engulfed the room, interrupted only by Ryan's oblivious snoring from the couch, unaware of the chaos I created. Mom struggled to form words, while Dad dragged his fingers through his hair, exhaling heavily. "You orchestrated this," his voice wavered. "The phone calls, the ransom demands." I nodded shamefully. "I'm sorry. I needed you to understand how bad things have gotten. How much I hate being caught between you both." Behind me, Caleb muttered, "Warned you this would backfire, dude." Mom collapsed into a chair, regarding me like an unfamiliar person. "Ethan, we thought we'd lost you forever." Her voice cracked as Dad knelt beside her, awkwardly but supportively. I stepped forward, words rushing out. "You never get along. Not during my birthday, not at the bowling alley, never. I love you both deeply, but I feel like your personal tug-of-war rope." I was out of options. Dad glanced at Mom before turning to me, his expression softening. "Kid, I had no idea this affected you so deeply." Mom dabbed her eyes, nodding in agreement. "Neither did I. We've been so consumed with our issues, we neglected you." The atmosphere shifted, becoming less tense yet weighted, like the aftermath of a thunderstorm. Mom rose, drawing me into another embrace, this one more tender than before. "We're sorry, Ethan. We'll make things right." Dad joined our embrace, his palm resting on my shoulder, and for a brief moment, everything felt genuine, as if healing was possible. I returned their hug, softly saying, "I'm sorry too." The moment dissolved when Caleb cleared his throat. Ryan's not going to be happy when he comes to." We all turned to look at the couch where Ryan lay sprawled, a small puddle of drool forming on the cushion, prompting an anxious chuckle from me. Mom's lips curved into a knowing smile. "He'll survive. Next time, I'll bake him something without the special edition." Together, we exited the house into the evening air, where the rain had diminished to a fine spray. Though uncertain about what lay ahead, that embrace and promise felt like a new beginning. The mysterious shadow, the unfamiliar sedan, the strange sounds, they all receded from my thoughts, perhaps just manifestations of an overwhelmed teenager's mind. Or perhaps not. Regardless, I'd managed to shake us all from our complacency, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt supported in this challenging situation. The aftermath of that night at Ryan's brought subtle but meaningful changes, though nothing transformed overnight. My parents began communicating through text messages instead of heated phone calls, exchanging brief notes about my schedule without their usual hostility. While not perfect, it marked progress. A week later, I gathered them on Mom's sofa, the partially assembled Lego Falcon decorating the coffee table, and presented Mom with a third Six Flags ticket. I'd used my birthday money from Grandma and Pops, $60 originally earmarked for a new video game, purchasing it online. "Mom's right. The Six Flags trip with Dad was your suggestion," I said. "Let's make it a family thing." Mom's expression softened with surprise. "Ethan, You shouldn't have. I interrupted her. I want both of you there. Dad smiled, messing up my hair. Looks like we're becoming a roller coaster family, aren't we? That Saturday, we climbed into his truck as sunlight pierced Seattle's characteristic overcast sky, heading towards Six Flags in Arlington. The journey was filled with sound. Mom's classic rock playlist blasting, Dad tapping the steering wheel, and me beaming from the back seat. For once, everything felt exactly as it should. The amusement park buzzed with vibrant energy, roller coaster screams piercing the air alongside the sweet aroma of cotton candy. We tackled the Texas Giant immediately, its massive frame sending thrills through our bodies as Mom gripped my fingers and Dad hollered with childlike enthusiasm. Between heart-pounding rides, I demonstrated my new drone's capabilities, a gift from Dad, guiding it above the picnic grounds while Mom captured the moments on her smartphone. She even gathered enough courage to join me on the slingshot ride, our combined laughter echoing as we soared through the air. Though they had a brief disagreement about sunscreen application, it dissipated quickly, replaced by an exchange of glances I hadn't witnessed in what felt like forever. We brushed it off, riding the Titan next, its drops stealing my breath and the unease with it. By dusk, we sprawled on a grassy hill, watching fireworks paint the sky, reds and blues bursting above. Mom leaned against Dad's shoulder, a small thing, but it hit me hard. I tricked them, scared them, and somehow it brought us here. But the lie had claws. Ryan wouldn't talk to me for days after, pissed about the cake stunt, and Caleb said I'd gone too far. I'd gambled their trust, and though we'd patched it up, a crack lingered. Honesty, I learned, outweighs any game. Families aren't perfect, they're messy, but they're worth fighting for, not against. The journey today has come to an end. Did you find this ending satisfying, or did it catch you off guard? Let us know how you feel right below. If you love this story, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe so you won't miss the next adventure. Thanks for sticking with us, and see you in the next tale.